Record. I'm so excited for today. Hi, Reshma. Hi, Katie. Get everybody in here. Healing Mama's here. So excited. All right, let me make sure we're all set over here on my side. There we go. Okay, looks like we're live. It's happening. How are y'all feeling today? I'm sorry I sound like I crawled out from under a bush. I lost my voice in case you didn't notice. But I'm looking for her diligently. If you see her, please let me know. You guys, I'm so excited for today. This is going to be one of our last lives before the new year. So we're doing this week and then we're going to do next week. And then it is done. Like we are off to 2024. So when I was thinking about what I really wanted to talk about this week, and I was like, what is everybody struggling with? What are we feeling? What's happening in the world? What do we need to hear? I thought about connecting the dots because I don't know about you guys, but I've struggled with this many times in my business. I work so hard to do so many things, and all I want is to connect the dots, to bring everything together, to be more efficient, effective with what I'm doing, and make sure that I'm giving my all to everything I can. So that is what today is all about, helping you be more effective. Now, I don't know if anyone has studied how ripple effects work on the lake or the pond, but if you take a little stone and you toss it out, it starts to create these little ripples, right? Everyone thinks about the momentum that little stone goes through while it's growing and going and going. But few of us know what happens to the rings. What happens is they actually kind of form together to create a harmonious effect. And let's say that there's a little leaf on the top of one of those little rings. It's going to start moving and moving and moving. And as it does that, it's actually going to pull that leaf all the way to the other side of the pond. So, the reason I think that's super cool for today is that's what we're talking about, right? We're talking about being efficient and effective with our time so that we can do more with less. Isn't that our goal? Who wants to do more with less? Let me see you in the chat. I'm going to pull up. I know we've already got some messages. Be sure to say hi to all your friends here. Got some new friends coming. You wear the best jacket, Zara. Thank you so much. I got a little sparkle going on. I'm always about that. Hi in Toronto. Yay. Emily knows what I'm talking about. She wants to do more with less. Now, whether you've been working all the time in all these different businesses, you've been working helping other people, you've been doing the thing, or you're just getting started in your business and you're like, hey, oh, hi, cousin. Hi. I love you guys. Nice to see you. It's really important. It's really important to be effective, to be intentional with your time, and to feel like you're not running yourself ragged. You're not losing your voice if you're like me right now. You guys, I would love to do less with more. I'm like, can I just post a feed post today? No, we are showing up. We are doing the thing. And I've got your chat up here so that we can say hi. Oh my God, Sahara's like, I need to learn this. Now, I want to tell you straight up, in my business, I have had many peaks and many valleys. And I think, first of all, hi, Melina. I see you. Oh my gosh, by the way, shout out to Melina. She got me these earrings for my Christmas present a little early. It's like Hanukkah, Christmas in my house. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like match the vibe. How did I do, Melina? How did I do? You can take the girl out of fashion, right? But let's be honest, she's still gonna try to bring it. So anyway, I feel like my jokes are better when my voice is right. You know what I mean? Like I can't do all the inflections I would. No, I'm just playing with you guys. But what I've seen in my own life in those like peaks and valleys is that sometimes I feel like I'm crushing it. Sometimes I feel like my team is crushing it. I feel like we're doing a really great job. And then other times I'm like, man, I feel like I'm stuck. I feel like something's holding me back and I don't know exactly what it is. So when I started kind of investigating in my business, I realized a big problem I was struggling with was a problem other people were struggling with as well. And what that problem was, you guys, was this disconnect between what we're doing every day and the goals we're trying to achieve. Hi, friends. I see you on social. So one of my issues that we were talking about last week is like, hey, we're not managing well. Like, let's just be honest, right? I had to learn that lesson as a leader. I had to realize that maybe I had the best of intentions. Maybe I had the best goals, the best team, and the best concepts, right? Even the best clients. But if I wasn't managing the process, like really pushing that forward, what would I do? If you think about a ship, you might have a great destination. Okay, we're on a Bahamas trip. Okay, holla. Melina just got back from the Bahamas not too long ago. So let's say you're on a ship and you're going to the Bahamas and you've got the whole course charted out. But what if something comes up? What if something happens? Or what if someone just like shows up 10 days into the cruise, like, hey, I'm going to help co-pilot this, co-captain this situation. Then what do we do? Right? Like, we need to catch that person up. In business, this happens all the time. We hire new people transition in and out, they get promoted, they move on to different roles. And so you need to be able to catch them up to the journey that you're going. So if you don't have a clear map and you don't have a clear plan and you're not being consistent about it, it's really hard to really grow your business effectively, right? Who knows what I'm talking about right now? Because this is so important. It's so important that we are real about what we're struggling with in our business. And so right now, let's just kind of start off with some vulnerability. Who likes a little Monday vulnerability? I do. Let's say right now, what are you struggling with in your business when it comes to putting everything together? So what I mean by that is just fix that. What I mean by that is like if you're struggling right now on being more efficient, being more effective, doing more with less, what does that look like in your life? How does that manifest in your life? I want to talk to you. I want to hear about that because it's really, really important that we tap right into what's holding you back in that way, right? So that's really important. I want to know what you're struggling with. And if you're like, I don't know if this is that kind of problem, but this is what I'm struggling with, drop it in the chat. I want to know. So Katie says balancing it all, which is why I'm excited to talk assistants this week. Yes. Oh my gosh, let's get you a virtual assistant so that you can do less with more, so you can be more effective. You know, when I think about this, I think about how much is your hour worth to you? That's a scary question because a lot of us are raised to think that our hour is worth what an employer will pay for that hour. I'm not designed like that. I'm designed to think, what is this hour gonna bring? This hour, who you guys know me, you know what I'm gonna say. What transformation, right? What transformation is gonna come as a result of this investment into someone's life? And so to me, it's not about the hour, the time it took me. It took me 20 plus years of entrepreneurship to get to that concept, to be able to consult at that level, to be able to take people who have struggled with money mindsets like I have and to turn it into multiple figure months every month consistently. Like we do that because we work really hard and we learn a system and we don't work as hard. Right? Like, it's not about working hard forever. It's about putting like, living the life like, living like no one else, so one day you can live like no one else, right? That's what it's about. It's about saying like, "Okay, well, maybe it only took me an hour, but it took me 20 years to get to this hour. So that's what I'm gonna give you. That's what I'm gonna do for you." Reshma's an artist. How many years did it take you to design your craft, to get better and better and better, to be able to create something that is beautiful, that's a timeless piece, right? Like you think of someone like Louis Vuitton, you think of Valentino, like you think of these amazing brands that you love. Like you could go in and get a similar bag. There's knockoffs every other day, right? But it's about understanding the value. And that's why Louis Vuitton holds their value, right? They don't do sales because they know their value. So I think that's what it's really about. When we're thinking about pulling this together, what we're talking about is how do I get to where I want to be with less effort from me? How do we do that? So, number one, I'm going to tell you what we've implemented with my team. And I am so excited because I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I'm pulled in a million different directions. Not only like in life, right? As a mom, wife, child of God, human being, friend, sister, daughter, like all the things. That's one category, right? That's one category. That's like the human Rachel. From a public perspective, you know, I'm doing photo shoots, I'm doing social media, I'm live streaming, holla. Like I'm doing all these things, right? Then on a business perspective, I've got multiple companies that I advise on. I have stock and I sit on the board of different companies. So I have to go into different rooms and shift my mindset so I fully immerse myself into what this organization is about. I'm an ambassador for Hope for Kids, which is a huge honor. So when I'm thinking about that, like literally part of why my voice is so ratchet is because I literally was hosting Santa at Central over the weekend and I was like talking to everyone and giving it my all because I want to show up fully everywhere I'm supposed to be. But I need to make sure that my dots are connected because if they're not, I'm doing something over here that doesn't speak over here. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about getting all the dots on the page. So as we're talking, what I want you to start doing, because I know some wheels are turning. If your wheels are turning right now, I just want you to say me. Because I think that the truth is that so many times we already get the concepts going by just hearing someone shine a light in our life. You don't need to hear from me to like awake within yourself. You can awake within yourself sitting at coffee with someone talking about something totally different. There can be a light bulb where your brain's like, wait a minute, this relates to this problem I'm dealing. Tiana says me, says me. I'm seeing some me's on social media. So you're feeling that feeling of like, what are we doing here? Right. So that's what I'm about. I'm about everything speaking to one another. So let's start with putting some dots on the page, right? So if you're taking notes, start to write down some of the things that are important to you in your life that you want to connect into your ecosystem. Because we need to see ourselves as a full ecosystem so that we can start to shift the way that we're doing things. And what I mean by that is, let's say that you're struggling right now in monetizing effectively on a side hustle and you're full time somewhere else, right? You're full time working somewhere else. Well, what might be effective for you is having a virtual assistant who you can connect with at the beginning of your day on your ride to work and give them a list of what you want to achieve. And then at the end of the day, when you're driving home from work, you check back in and say, okay, how did this go? Because that goes back to my question, how much is an hour worth to you? Because for me, I can make more money in an hour than I spend outsourcing that hour. Does that make sense? So imagine I get in a conversation with someone and I close a 15K deal, but that hour cost me how much money to hire someone to do something else that I would have otherwise been doing had I not taken that time and said, you're going to do this while I'm doing this. That's why, as a CEO, it's very important. Your number one goal is revenue. You have to be focused on revenue. So many people get so bogged down with systems and concepts and all the things that they actually don't focus in on revenue generating systems that can actually keep their business afloat. And if you don't do that, if you don't actually make that difference, then what are we doing? Right? What are we doing? We can't sustain business. So that's really what this is about. So, first off, what I'm going to say is the most important thing when you're connecting the dots is to see the areas where you can optimize your life. So, thank you, Brian. Holler. Hi, Drew. I see you. So, what are the areas of your life that you can optimize so that you bring everything together? Now, I'm going to use myself as an example. And if someone wants to hot seat in a little bit, we're going to do hot seats in about 15 minutes where you can just raise your hand and then you'll be in the lineup. So, you can actually come on camera, audio with me, and let's talk through what you're struggling with. Okay. But before we do that, I'm going to use myself as an example. And if you want to jump in the chat now about some things that you're struggling with, then let's talk through that, right? But for myself personally, like I've kind of thrown a couple of the things out here. So one would be Hope for Kids, and one would be my business, right? So what I've done, because I've started to do so many lives throughout the week, we're doing lives on Monday. We've now, I don't know if you've noticed in the app, but we've also kicked off lives on Wednesdays, same time, 9 a.m. PST, noon EST, to talk through leadership on Wednesdays. Monday is kind of like your weekly kickoff. We tackle topics like this, things that I'm personally dealing with, things that I'm recently growing from. And next year, 2024, holler, we're going to get some special guests coming in with me to do these things. We're talking to Ali Webb, who founded Dry Bar. We're talking to some amazing women, one of which, Julie Stevens, she's a good friend of Melina, who's here. She's literally crushed it in her business, growing in an incredible way with a brand called Monate. And she's just hit like a 16 million group, which is so exciting. So we're going to hear from her about that perseverance, facing that stuff and all the things, right? But what I think is really important is that we bring in other people too to share their thoughts and their ideas so that we can grow together and be cohesive. So if there's a topic you want to hear about, make sure that you email me, or you can drop it in the app. But if you just want to email, it's Rachel@rachelmccord.com. So make sure that you drop those in so that we can talk to you and hear from you about what you're struggling with. And we can bring in the people who are going to help you make a difference. That's part of the value with what I've been doing with female founders, right? Like we're scheduling with Jessica Alba's team, with Courtney Kardashian. Like let's pull these things into this ecosystem and help you learn from these people who have built incredible success. You know what I just did right there, by the way, you guys? I just gave you a real example of how we're connecting dots. Who heard me? Who heard it when I was saying it? Okay, so let's go back. Let's yeah, Reshma heard it. Yes, Katie heard it. Melina heard it. So let's go back. Okay, so what we're talking about is I've got female founders where I'm interviewing thought leaders. Okay, I've also run Magic for the past 5 years, and that's like 2 to 3 shows every single year, coordinating all the experts, all the celebrities, all the speakers to be able to interview them and bring all this wisdom. I have an archive that would blow your mind of all these interviews, and we're going to start dropping them into the app through courses so that you can learn from them and benefit from some of this cohesiveness, right? But think about it. I do all this with female founders, with Magic, with just, knowing amazing people from my family being in entertainment for so long. So I pull them in here and I'm like, okay, join me on this live. Let's coach, let's go, right? And then take that and add it into now my other businesses. We have a virtual assistant agency, but I don't believe in just one thing or another. So what I mean by that is like I don't believe in just like giving someone a virtual assistant and be like, all right, good luck, have fun, right? Because what do I always say? The thinking that got you here is not the thinking that's going to get you out. I'm not thinking the same way I was when I started my first company and sold it by 25. I'm not thinking the same way. Something worked, it happened. I'm so grateful, right? I still work the same, to be honest with you. I just work smarter. I work just as hard. I have the same work ethic. I have the same passion. But now I'm a mom. So some of that hard work comes into pushing through when I feel like pulling the chute and going to sleep, right? Like how my mamas know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you're like, I just don't have it today. And then you got to like dig in and find it. It's the same thing with your business. Brian said, networking and knowing how to have wisdom and discernment on how you can work with other people's networks. Yeah, it fits if it fits. I love that. If it doesn't, it might work at a later date. I couldn't agree more. In fact, one of my favorite talks from Kathy Ireland, we have an interview with her that I'll post up. She's amazing. And she said, she started her business with door to door sales with socks. And she says to me, she's like, when you get rejection, just know the person who was empowered then might not be empowered later. We sometimes pitch a TV show and we think, oh man, it didn't work. And then 6 months later, you pitch the same show, it works. Not only because audiences change, needs change, things evolve, but also because at the end of the day, maybe the people who were in charge of the networks at that time are no longer there. There's a lot of turnover in the network field. So you kind of have to like that's why we talked about it a couple weeks ago, removing the fear of rejection. You got to remove the fear of failure. You got to remove the fear of perfectionism. I know everyone's like, that's not a fear. I'm actually really good with that. No, it's a paralyzing goal. I know because I've chased it for many, many years of my life. Like I feel like an old lady with how much I've tried to be perfect. Like I feel like I've like tried for 100 years trying to perfect myself to be good enough for what was to come. Until I started saying, you know what? I'm actually good enough for the one who matters. And everything else can just kind of fade away. And I'll do my best. Right. But that's what this is about. It's about going back into our business with that mindset to say, I'm okay with rejection. I'm okay with failure. I'm okay with not being perfect. Okay. I'm okay with managing my team effectively. And now I want to be okay with bringing it together to be cohesive. So going back to that example, we've got female founders, right? We've got all these interviews with all these amazing thought leaders, incredible interviews. There's no reason why everything should be in a silo. There's no reason why someone should have a virtual assistant over here, right? And no strategy over there. It doesn't make any sense. You have strategists here who are going to give you a bunch of advice, and you're going to go back and be like, yeah, but I have no energy to do this. I cannot actually do this because I'm exhausted because I don't have the strategy to make it work. So we merge them. And how do we do that effectively? By doing group lives. So we have a lot of people in these groups who are doing different things within different areas of my ecosystem. Some of you are creators and you're pitching the directory, and some of you are doing many other things and you're thinking, "Oh my gosh, okay, like how can I pull this in here? How can I grow here?" Right? So we've got to pull these things together so that we can be effective. All right, so real quick, just if someone wants to hot seat, you can go ahead and raise your hand for me. Let's go ahead and raise your hand if you have a hot seat question and you want to jump into this. Is everyone understanding and vibing what we're talking about so far? Right? Makes sense. Okay. So that's what I want to challenge each of us to do is like look for the little areas that things can come together and we can be effective. The little areas where you have an asset over here and you can make it an asset over here. And what does that mean? How does that challenge us? Well, it challenges us because if we have an issue with value, which we've talked about also in the past couple of weeks, and by the way, all these old shows are inside the app under Entrepreneur Live. So if you missed one of them and you want to tackle a topic with us, go back and watch it, or maybe rewatch it if you were with us and something's clicking differently today than maybe it was then. Because at the end of the day, what we're really trying to do is we're trying to just streamline our life so that we can protect our most valuable asset, which is our time. Our time is the most valuable asset we'll ever have. And I think that, you have people in life and some of them are just trying to like cover their bills so they can get back to life, you know? I get that. Like I spent a lot of my life doing that. I remember my husband, because I started my company, my first company, it was an events and concierge company, because I was already doing that for so many different companies already. And it just made sense to like go out on my own because I could kind of be unstuck. Does that make sense? Like if you're doing events at one venue all the time, you're stuck. If someone doesn't want that venue, it's not going to work, but you pull yourself out, you become a free agent, you can go anywhere. And so one way that I connected dots with that was I went to all the agencies, all the locations that I wanted to work with, and I asked for a referral agreement, right? Like this is before ambassador programs were even as popular as they are today. I just went to all of them and said, "Hey, I can bring you brides for weddings. Hook me up. Like give me a kickback." So I was making money on both sides. And what happened was the business grew and we became one of the top 3 events and concierge companies in Vegas where it's really competitive to be in that place. And I didn't do that because I was passionate about that, right? I was like, I actually discovered events by working in entertainment in Hollywood and knowing that I really didn't want to be like a big celebrity. Like I wasn't trying to be an actress. And it was actually right around the time when like the Kardashians were starting to do their show. And I was like, I felt like I liked most the business of entertainment. So I like stepped back and I was like, all right, well, if I can just step back here and say, okay, well, let me focus more on the areas of my business that I love to do. I liked being at parties. I liked hosting people and being around people. And I grew up in Georgia where like, you're born with an ability to like, would you like a cup of tea? Like it's just that's what you do, you know what I mean, in Georgia. So it made sense for me. I started that company. And then when I sold it, I sold my full piece to my partner, and he's gone on and taken it to different cities and everything. But when I sold it, I literally said, I don't love doing this anymore. Like, I felt like I was in, like, a little bit of a loop. I'd built it, I'd done it, I'd launched it, and it was fun, but then I was like, "I'm kinda over it." And then Rick asked me, "Well, what are you really passionate about?" And I was like, "What are you talking about, bro? I'm passionate about having my bills paid and saving." Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just, like I felt like in a way I had kind of, like, struck luck. I was like, "I don't know, it just something worked with my last company." And I didn't know what I was doing right, and I didn't know what I was doing wrong, but I just leaned into where the problems were, right? So I was going into this place where I was like, all right, let me just lean into the issue, lean into the problem, and be able to say, okay, like, let me fix that. Let me fix that. And I believe in client customer service. So that was like the thing. It's like, fix the problems, make everybody happy. Like, that's not too complicated, right? So at that foundation, I knew what I was doing in business. But then as I grew and as I evolved, then I realized there were other areas of my business that I needed to be better at, that I need to grow in. And so one of those areas that I needed to evolve with was having a strategic plan. And so when I started putting together this recent plan, it's really changed the game. So I'm going to tell you what the template is for that before we wrap up this teaching moment in case anybody wants to hot seat. So the way that I did it was, and again, you guys know I have multiple initiatives in my world. Thank you, Karen. You're so sweet. I see you on social. I have multiple different spaces over here, right? In business, I have like this company. We have a marketing agency, Launch Viral. I know I've got some creators here who've been working with us on the directory. So with that, what I've really seen is you can like have this multiple plan that stacks into a full plan. So if any of you are like multi hyphenated like me, then you're going to like this. because I'm super busy and my team really struggles to get my attention. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I really try. I schedule huddles with them every day, but sometimes like I'm driving somewhere and I can't look at something to read like, a full page or two-page document to approve it. So I'll be like, "Oh yeah, ping me about that. Ping me about that." So if I have this over here, I'm like, "All right, what am I marching towards?" Because sometimes we get lost in the to-dos and we forget what we're marching towards. So the way that I've created it is like this. I start off with like, what is this initiative? So I'll say here, this is my initiative. Okay. And the first thing that I say here with the initiative is that I'm usually saying something like, all right, let's make sure that we're clear about what this is. And so an example of that initiative could be a company, it could be a project. Maybe you want to start speaking more at conferences. Maybe you want to do launch a podcast. That's an initiative, a project or initiative. And then the most important thing to put on next is your goal or your big idea. So your goal is like, what does a win look like for you? Right. So this is where I want to go with it. But what does it look like to go there? And then I break up my worlds basically in like phase one and phase two. You could break it up to phase three, phase four, but I'm going to be honest. I started doing that because I do think like that. But I got kind of overwhelmed by my own self. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to break it up into phase one, which is now, phase two, which is future. And then I'm just going to let the rest kind of like evolve as I evolve because your initiatives are going to evolve, your business is going to evolve. And if it doesn't, then you're not really keeping up with trends and the tone of the world. So we want to be mindful of that. So let's put that down. Phase one. So phase one is all about tasks. Okay. Just get there quick, right? Like so many of us, we get stuck in trying to build this out that we're like, oh, and then I need to have this, and then I need to have no, no. Remember, CEO, number one goal. What's the number one goal, team? What's your number one goal as a CEO? Drop it in the chat right now. Who's listening? Revenue, that's right. Revenue, money. How am I bringing in cash into my business? That's your number one. Yes, money. I love you, Emily. That's great. That's right. Bring in the dollars. Because if you have dollars, you have a runway. You have a runway, you can do a lot. You think about someone like Elon Musk, he's got a lot of runway to do a lot of things, to make a lot of mistakes, to make a lot of wins. We want runway so we can crush it in business. If you don't have runway, Melissa, oh, I love you. Show me the money. That's right. We don't have runway. What are we doing? We can't do it. We can't feed our families. We can't pay our rent. Like, you ever try to launch a business when you're like heads under the sand? It's very stressful. It's possible. It's very stressful. You won't feel anything like a fire like that. But if you're focused on your systems when you don't have money to eat, your priorities are out of sync. If you think about money first, always, not like in your life as a human being, in your business, let's be clear, like have better things in your normal life, but like in your business, if the first thing you're thinking about is revenue generating practices, then everything else is kind of secondary. And so you will actually have more revenue to tackle the secondary things. Right. So if I said to you right now, like, all right, the goal right here is that we're going to generate revenue, the first things on your task list here should be about money. I'm going to skip to the finish line. Three things for most businesses. It's going to look different depending on what you're doing. If you're selling makeup, it's going to look different. If you're selling cars, it's going to look different. But this is the format of what it is. Let me explain. So you got a sales deck, you got an email list, you got outreach. Okay. When I say it looks different, thank you, Karen. Yes, liquidity. If I say it looks different, what I mean by that is what is your sales deck? If you're selling makeup, your sales deck is your product. It's whatever you're selling, right? That's your sales deck. That's what you're showing to the world. So it manifests itself in different ways. Now, if you're like me, you're never just going to do one thing like this, right? I'm not like that. Some of you might be like that. And let me tell you, I've seen people do tremendously well in business by just doing one thing on like a little hamster wheel. They love it, they get it, they just do it all the time. I'm selling hair products, I'm just doing my hair every day on social media, right? That's all I'm doing all the time. But if you're like me, you're probably going to think, you know what? Like, I'd like to bring in some strategic partners so that I can get more runway by leveraging their capital, not my own. Okay, so what would that look like? That would look like taking all these beautiful photos of all this great product and then putting it into a proposal and a presentation so that you can host an event and have people bring in money in other ways. So you give yourself a like basically like a buyout for wellness or beauty or whatever your business is. You give yourself that buyout and then you bring in a drink sponsor. Mocktails are so trendy with events right now, and I love it. I love it because I personally don't drink. I know you guys know that. And also, I love it because it's a lot less expensive than buying alcohol. So that's great. Like, find a cute mocktail bar, find a cute little cookie bar. I've seen the cutest little like hot chocolate bars. Like, find your partners, take cash from them to be a part of this event. Now, what have you done? You've paid yourself as an employee while you're building your business. That's what I'm about. That's what I'm talking about to when oh, hi, Robert. Oh my gosh, I miss you so much. That's what I'm talking about when I'm saying to put these little dots together, right? To put them together, connect the dots. This is what I'm talking about. Do you have a random friend you got really close to who sells jewelry and you're like, nothing ever made sense? I think so. And Brian, maybe it was you in the chat earlier talking about how like it'll make sense later. Same thing, right? You start off and you're like, maybe it doesn't make sense right now. Suddenly you're hosting parties. They sell jewelry, you sell makeup, done. Now maybe you're a thought leader and you're like, you know what, Rach, like I don't sell makeup. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have any reason to do an event. Yeah, you do. You're a thought leader. Speak. Invite other thought leaders to come together and be able to help you with your mission. That's so important, right? We've got to do it together if we want to win. And that's why we come together in groups like these on Mondays because if you read the book Think and Grow Rich, they talk about masterminds. And I actually think that that's probably one of the books that set off the whole trend of masterminds because people realized it was important to get into your business, to get together, to get cohesive, to get effective so that you could win in the long run. And the way you do that is by surrounding yourself with other people who win. If you want to win, you need to be around winners, right? Who knows that this is true? Look around at your group. Are you hanging around winners? Like, I do a lot for a lot of people, but I look at my time differently than a lot of people. I have this amazing woman. She leads an organization out of Ohio, and I've gone to speak there quite a few times to their children. It's called the Ridge Project. It's really amazing. They're helping people who are incarcerated be able to rehabilitate so that they don't come back in. They also do outreach, which is where I've helped for the children. So we do like a film camp every year to talk to these children, to encourage them, love them, help them with self-worth because for a lot of them, it's their father and fathers speak identity into children. So if you don't have a father around or you didn't have a father around, you might struggle with self-worth and identity. So what we have to do as a community, as a world, is come around people who in a season of their life are orphaned and need to be supported, need to be empowered. So that's what we did. I asked her, I was like, Kathy, you guys do so many incredible things. And I'm so blown away. I'm so blown away. But I want to know, like, how do you manage it all? She said, well, I separate my time like this. I spend 70% of my time doing things that add, right? So people who add into my life. So look at your friends. Are they adding into your life? Are you adding into their life? 70% of your time is spent there. Then 10% of your time is tithing. It's where you spend time helping extractors. So people who just benefit from what you're giving them. You don't expect anything from them. They probably don't give anything to you. 10%. There's 80% of your time. And 15% of your time you spend with multipliers. Multipliers are people who speak life into you. So spend 15% of your life on masterminds like this, reading books that empower you, watching shows that empower you, sitting down with people who are thought leaders. And she said to me, the only reason that number is so small is because there aren't that many of these people. Think about it in a church. Think about a mega church that hosts like 21,000 people a week. I just spoke at one a couple weeks ago. They literally, you look around and then you look at the groups who stay for communion or the groups who like go over here and volunteer. It's a small fraction of the number of people who are being benefited by that thing. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's how world works, right? Some people are here to invest and grow, and some people are here to just survive. They're just trying to make ends meet, right? It's the single mama. She can't even think about volunteering somewhere because she's trying to hold it together herself. And so you think about that now, you have 5% left. 5% left is for dividers. These are people who create division in your life. It's 5% or less. It's important. Or less is very important. When she said this, I heard or less very strongly because I was like, I want to spend less. But we all know people in our lives and our families who create division. We just do. It's unfortunate. It's difficult. You need to limit your time. This is not the person to do your morning walks on to amplify your day. Because what's going to happen is you're going to spend the rest of your day talking bad about things and feeling bad about things because that's all you guys did. Right? That's cool, right? 70% adding value. Let's just say 15% there for people who multiply. So plus multipliers, 10% subtractors, 5% or less dividers. It's a game changer. It changes your life. It changed my life. When she told me this, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't need to dedicate all my time because I'm an empath. I love to help people. And I was like spending 80% of my time doing that. And when I shifted that around, I was like, oh my goodness, like, look, now I have like, I've changed the way that I think about relationships. And so what happened? I changed my life. Truthfully, I changed my life. All right. So we think about sales decks. Think about the people who add value in your life. They're friends of yours. Go to them, talk to them, say, hey, do you want to team up with me? Can we partner up? Can we co host? I love a co host. I launched a very successful event called Full Moon Bazaar, and it became a whole thing. I think I've talked about it before. It worked because you had like 25 different small business vendors all coming together, promoting to their own audiences. Why do they promote? Well, they wouldn't have promoted if I just invited them. They promoted because they were benefiting from it. So when you think about people who add value to life, make sure you're also adding value to their life. Make sure you're also doing something that creates a win for them so you guys can win together. We don't want to try to create silo success. That's not, if that's what you're here for, I'm not your girl. I won't be able to coach you in that way. I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to create success so I can help more people. Robert, who is on a chat right now, he is saving the lives of animals every single day. Every single day. He has built many successful businesses. Robert, I want to have you on here one time, if you'll have me. He's built so many successful businesses. And then what did he do? He said, you know what? I want to take the money I've earned and I want to invest it in these animals. I want to advocate for them because they can't advocate for themselves. I want to be a voice for them because they don't have a voice for themselves. And he's changing their lives. And you know what happens when you give? It comes right back. I don't know about you guys, but I have a little chihuahua, and every time I get to snuggle with him, of course, it's all true. Every time I get to snuggle with him, it blesses me. I'm giving him belly rubs and tickling him and all the things, but it blesses me. And if you look at anything that talks about mental health, they'll be like, if you're struggling, take a walk, spend some time with an animal, right? Like bring value in the world, and you'll remember and you'll see all the value and beautiful God winks that we have all around us all the time. Oh my gosh, Robert just said he spends $70,000 a month out of pocket. So, you just blew some people's hair back in my chat right now. Like people like the gas on the chat. That's great. All right, so sales deck. Are we all clear on what a sales deck is in your business? Are you thinking about it for yourself? Maybe for you, Reshma, it's a line sheet, right? It's all of your designs. Okay. Then your email list. Who are you talking to? Who are you talking to? Who are you following up with? Who are you following up again with? Who are you following up again with? There's money in the inbox. Bring value, make a difference. That's how we do it. That's how we do it. We make a difference in people's lives. So if you're bringing value, you have a reason to reach out. How many times have you gotten an email, truthfully, and it's been like, you know what, this is exactly what I need to hear? And it might be a sales email, but it was exactly what you need to hear. I've been there a million times. Oh my gosh, Drew, that is an amazing photo. I am living for that right now in the chat. That's so good. I gotta make sure I'm not missing these messages. Let's see. I think my thing is there we go. Yes. That's my value, my world. So sweet. So beautiful. So your email list, these are people who you can help in their lives. And so be intentional about that. If you sell products, it's the holidays. Please help me figure out what to buy for my husband, right? Send me a bundle that I can just buy and be done and do and let's go, right? Like help me do what I want to do better. That's what it's about. That's what bringing value is. And then outreach. That's where you create your templates and you move and you go. These 3 items or your version of them should be on the top of your phase 1 task list because it's most important. It's how we bring in revenue, okay? And then you're gonna have lists that come in after. And what's great is that this is gonna reveal other things you need. Does that make sense? So imagine that you're like typing up an email and you're like, oh, let me send you a picture of these products together. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have a photo of that. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna run to your products and you're gonna take a beautiful photo all together. Maybe you're like, "Oh, check out my website." And you're like, "Oh my gosh, my website's rank. I need to update it." Like, good, you have a new list. Let's just keep going, right? And then the last 2 things you need Phase 2, having a phase 2 bucket will save your life. I promise you. In business, it will save your life, and here's why. Because you will not waste your time doing a million things now that really should be done later. Because if you get so busy doing the things here, do you know what I think you're doing? It's a chapter of my husband's book. I think you're procrastinating. I'm sorry. I love you. I think you're procrastinating. I still love you. It's okay. I think you're procrastinating. So, what do we need to do? We need to just toss in the next bucket. Toss in the next bucket. Ask yourself, what do I need to do today? I get so sad for all my friends who go in all these coaching calls. And by the way, my mom's on the chat. Everyone give a shout out to my mama. Mom, I love you. My mom's like watched all these things. She's like such a hard worker. Like I have such mad respect for my mom and how much she pushes and goes and moves and all the things. And she learns and learns and learns, but how many times do we learn different things and we just get burnt out because we're running in all these different directions from all these different things? Put it in phase 2, my love. What do you need to do in phase 1? What do you need to do right now for your business? Do that and do it again and do it again. And as you're doing it, create systems to scale that. I help people every single day do this, guys. I'm literally talking to someone who's built hundreds of teams with hundreds of people. And this is what works. This is how I've built and scaled my business. I'm just being honest. This is literally like I could pull up a document right now and show you this exact outline and how I've done it. And here's the last one I like. I like to do a little check-in. Where are you now? And I keep it on the bottom because I don't want it to distract me from all the stuff at the top. But if you take a step back and you think, where am I now? And you could even start here. I think it'd be really effective because it's going to lead into what your goal is. Like, where am I right now? And have some compassion for yourself. So many people, when they start trying to shift their money mindset, first thing they do is what? Shame, guilt. This is what I'm doing wrong. I'm not doing a good job. I'm sucking at all this, right? The first thing we do is we go there. It's like the shame message. No, veto the shame message. No one needs to hear that, including you, especially you. There's no time for that. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. What we have is the present of today. It's a gift. Let's sit here. Where are we? And then know where we're going. And this is what it takes to get there. And that's all you're doing. Like Des, this is for you with our team. Let's continue to drill this in, continue to help them evolve, because that's what we're doing. We're helping companies learn the strategy to be able to do what they're meant to do and be able to grow at that by having a team behind them who can help them win. That's it. How are you guys feeling? Happy? Good? Do we shake it up a little bit today? Shake it up. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to cut it on social and Amazon Live. I love you guys. Thank you so much. I love you. Thank you for joining. We're going to go ahead and we're going to just have a little moment where we hot seat. Okay. We're in a hot seat so that we can talk through anything.